Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Ibu Sari Winahyu as my thesis supervisor and thesis examiners. In this opportunity, I would like to present my thesis with the title of Types of Family Support on Student Entrepreneur Startup Activities in Yogyakarta. Now we are going to start from the study background. Youth unemployment in Indonesia is the highest among other age groups, approximately 16.73%. Based on global economy in 2019. Youth unemployment refers to young people in the age of 15 to 24 years old without work, but are currently seeking for employment and available for employment. We all know that getting a college degree does not guarantee employment for fresh graduates. Therefore, entrepreneurship courses are now being offered in most of colleges and universities. Another way to make a living other than getting employed is by self-employment and new venture development. These activities can begin to help tackling the youth unemployment problems in a country. Next, individual self-empowerment can be fostered by entrepreneurship activities, which also can serve as a tool to create jobs, economic growth, innovation, and reinvigoration of economic life. The researcher thinks that if the development of new ventures is one of the essential weapons in the battle against youth unemployment, it is important to obtain an understanding of factors that possibly could influence young people to start a new business. For young people, family is one of the most important sources of early stage and seed funding and also mentoring. Before going further with the study, the researcher conducted a pre-interview to understand the current situation of the relationship between student entrepreneurs and the family support given for their businesses. There were 5 student entrepreneurs from Yogyakarta who were in 5 different types of industry, namely online fashion, cosmetics, culinary, tour and travel, and fashion industry. Types of support that were given from the family for these student entrepreneurs are in the form of financial support, human support, physical support, and social support. Edelman et al. 2014 stated that types of capital that students entrepreneurs can get from their families are financial capital, social capital, human capital, and physical capital. Next, we move on to the problem formulation. Because of the lack of collateral and credit history, also their young age, university students are mostly blocked off of some traditional ways and channels for getting early financial capital, for example, bank loans and credit cards. There has not been an evidence indicating that family is one entity which support the success of youth entrepreneurial businesses in Indonesia. The research questions and objectives are as follows. Now we move on to the literature background that has become the base of this research. Firstly, defining entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship is aimed at improving the business competitiveness through taking risk, innovation activities, and competitiveness. An entrepreneur is the person who creates the new business by taking risk during uncertainties in sequence to achieve profit and growth by identifying opportunities and combining the resources needed to establish them. According to YASI 1996, entrepreneurial activity is encouraged as a path to stimulate growth of economy and empowering segments of population that are marginalized in less developed countries. And now we are going to talk about the entrepreneurial startup activities. There is no specific order of startup activities in which they are performed. Nonetheless, there are some similar set of activities which nascent entrepreneurs are engaged in, but no set of activities guarantee the success of an organization. Katzengartner, 1998, found that planning, legitimacy, intense startup activities, and concentrated startup activities are all firms' necessity to survive in the short term, and those that organize slowly are more likely to continue to organize. And now, the family embeddedness perspective. Young firms typically have insufficient resources, which limits their potential to seek for feasible strategic alternatives. Building on the embeddedness logic, Aldrich and Cliff 2003 proposed a family embeddedness perspective, arguing that family have the potential to influence firms substantially. Furthermore, they suggest that the process of venture creation can be influenced by the characteristics of entrepreneurs' family system. For example, family resources, norms, and values. The next topic is family support. Family support will be divided into 4 types: financial, social, human, and physical. Families have an important role in the entrepreneurial process as for the strong associations between family embeddedness in business and entrepreneurial outcomes or actions. Now we are going to talk specifically about each types of family support. First, family financial support. Financial capital provides flexibility for entrepreneurs to handle a broader range of startup activities. Financial capital can act as a shield in case of accidental external shocks, empowering entrepreneurs to go after more capital-intensive strategies, thus are better protected from imitation. Prior research by Chua et al. 2011 found that there is a positive influence in the relationship of family involvement and the debt financing in the new ventures. Next, family social support. According to Basti et al. 2013, social capital is defined as the networks of relationships in which both personal and organizational contexts are embedded closely. Even though a family is not involved directly in the entrepreneurial process and initiative, family social capital may still have an important influence on the process of venture creation. The human capital concept is embedded inside the idea that people own skills, knowledge, and experience with economic value for themselves and for the firms. Family human capital is the knowledge, abilities, and skills possessed by individuals in the family members. Costa et al. 2014 suggests that the decision to start a business has a positive correlation with having family members or parents who are or were entrepreneurs related to the mentoring facility for the children from entrepreneur parents. The last one is family physical support. Family physical capital is tangible assets provided by families such as house, family vehicle, computers that are used for business purposes. The hypotheses in this research are as follows. And here is the research model. Next part is about research methodology. This research is a quantitative research that uses survey as the method and memory data as the source of data. The data collection method is online questionnaires. The sampling technique is a non-probability sampling using convenience sampling. There were 212 questionnaires filled, but only 198 questionnaires can be processable further. The criteria of the respondents are students who are enrolled in higher education institution in Yogyakarta, and the respondents had an experience in entrepreneurship. For the analysis method, this research used descriptive statistics and structural equation model SEM using the PLS program with Smart PLS application. This is the operational definitions for all of the variables. The respondents' demographic. 86.9% of respondents are students in the age of 18 to 25 years old. 79.3% of respondents were female. 69.2% of respondents were undergraduate students. Most of the respondents had their business for 1 to 6 months with business revenue 1 million to 5 million rupiah per month. Moving on to the convergent validity test. When the loading factor value is above 0.7, it can be interpreted to be valid. Based on the table, loading factor values in the indicators family financial support, family social support, family human support, family physical support and startup activities, and also family cohesiveness are all higher than 0.7. This concludes that all of the indicators can be said to be valid. Next, the discriminant validity testing. Basically, the indicators that have the highest outer loading value for only the formed variables, not the other variables. Based on this table, all of the highest outer loading value is formed in the same variables. Therefore, all indicators of each variable in this research have met the discriminant validity. Next, evaluating composite reliability, average variance extracted or AVE, and Cronbach's alpha. AVE value that is higher than 0.5 is highly recommended. We can see that all of the AVE value is above 0.5. The construct is said to be reliable when the value of composite reliability or the Cronbach's alpha is higher than 0.5. Therefore, we can conclude that the construct has good reliability. Next, hypothesis result. There are 4 hypotheses that were supported in this research and 4 others were not supported. The next 4 hypotheses were not supported. It is about the family cohesiveness as the mediating variable in this research. Now we are going to move on to the discussion. Hypothesis 1A. Family financial support has a positive and significant influence on startup activities. It is supported. Based on Granovetter 1985, he argues that nascent entrepreneurs usually obtain early financial capital from close relatives, such as friends or families. The reason why financial support is affecting students' startup activities is because the respondents have no prior working experience because of their young age and their current status as university students. Therefore, students utilize the availability of family financial capital before they find other sources later on as they pursue their business further. However, this result is opposing Edelman et al. 2014, where they found that financial capital provided by family was negatively associated with young nascent entrepreneurs' startup activities. They found that financial capital lessened the young entrepreneur's urgency to obtain business revenue faster and later lessened the need to discuss business with potential customers. Furthermore, having support from the family in the form of money lessened children's necessity to look for potential business partners or other potential fund sources. The next hypothesis is family social support has a positive and significant influence on startup activities. This hypothesis is supported. Laspida et al. 2012 argued that the possibility of children assessing social capital of parents, and the social capital includes supplier contacts, business partners, potential customers, even parents' business networks. The reason why social capital or social support is affecting students' startup activities is because their lack of prior experience in entrepreneurship or business in general. Therefore, they rely on their families to provide the missing capital that they could not provide on their own, such as social capital. This result also supports Aldrich and Cliff 2003, who argued that family social capital had a big influence on the process of creating business, although when the family is not involving directly in the entrepreneurial and initiatives. The next hypothesis is family human support has a positive and significant influence on startup activities. This hypothesis is also supported. Hoang and Antonsik 2003 argues that young entrepreneurs generally lack of entrepreneurial and managerial experience. Therefore, they come to their families to overcome their human capital deficits. The reason why human support is affecting student startup activities is because of their shortage of experience in entrepreneurship leads them to seeking knowledge from external parties, as proven in this hypothesis that student entrepreneurs turn to their families to fill their knowledge deficits in terms of entrepreneurship. The result shows that student entrepreneurs in Yogyakarta are endowed with the knowledge of business in general or industry-specific knowledge related to their business from their families. The next hypothesis. Family physical support has a positive and significant influence on startup activities. This hypothesis is also supported. Dare et al. 2014 states that physical capital, including family assets, for example, family-owned property as an office, family-owned vehicles, and gadgets can be used to establish new business or conduct other business process. The reason why physical capital is affecting students' startup activities is because their lack of prior work experience to make money for themselves. Families can be one of the sources to ask for tangible things useful for their business operations. This result is in a post to Edelman et al. 2014, who discovered that physical capital provided by family in terms of locations and distribution network were not critical to the young nascent entrepreneurs' startup activities. The next hypothesis is about the mediating variable. The stronger the family cohesiveness, the stronger the relationship between family financial or social or human or physical support and startup activities undertaken by student entrepreneurs. All of these 4 hypotheses were not supported. Dare et al. 2014 investigated how a particular pattern of family can have both positive and negative effect on entrepreneurial initiative. Student entrepreneurs pointed out that family cohesiveness and their families are important, but it did not determine them on doing their own startup activities. This result arises because of all of the support, financial, social, human, and physical, from their families were enough to support them in doing their startup activities. In the questionnaire, the respondents were asked about family cohesiveness with 4 questions. These elements of family cohesiveness were agreed by the majority of respondents based on the frequency distribution of these indicators, but the statistical test proven that variable did not support the effect of each type of family support to the startup activities done by student entrepreneurs. With none of the hypotheses about family cohesiveness as moderating effect were accepted, it can be concluded that families give support to their children regardless of the family cohesiveness. This result is opposing Edelman et al. 2014, who found that the moderating effect of family cohesiveness on the relationship between startup activities and family capital existed. There are two research implications. The first is academic and practical. This research contributes to overall entrepreneurship literatures in the form of knowledge about the influence of families' role and support towards student entrepreneur startup activities, and also contributes to the availability of literature that provides a link between the nascent literature and the literature of family business influences. For the practical side, the relationship of family support and student entrepreneur startup activities can be utilized by families to encourage their children to start new ventures. For universities and policymakers, one of the strategies to encourage students to start entrepreneurial journey is to educate families and students about the possibility of family support in supporting students' startup activities. Next is the research limitation and suggestions. Small number of respondents and limited locations cannot generalize the real situation of family support towards startup activities of students in Indonesia. This research also adapted research model and survey questions only from one source, Edelman et al. 2014. For future researches, it is suggested that the distribution of the questionnaire will be more massive to broaden up the research area so that it will be able to gather more than enough respondents and can also generalize the result. Another suggestion is to use more references to generate another research model and questionnaire questions. Now we have arrived in the end of the presentation. From my thesis supervisor and thesis examiners, thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day, stay healthy, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.